Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sharon Collins, and I will be moderating today's training. With me today is Paula Brewer, Strategic Meeting Partner, who will be presenting today's training. So before we get started, let's go through a few housekeeping items. The session is being recorded, and we will advise you where to find it and the slide deck later in the presentation. During the presentation, please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A box located in the lower right side of the screen and submit it to all panelists. You don't need to wait until the session is complete to enter your questions, so as you think of them, go ahead and enter them into the Q&A box. If you're having any technical issues, please submit them to the Q&A box as well. Okay, so let's begin. Paula, take it away.
Thank you, Sharon, and welcome everyone to the first presentation in a series of meeting informational webinars that will be presented by the Meetings and Travel Department. In the next 2 weeks, you will hear from my colleagues in iVirtual, iTravel, and Attendee Management. These webinars are designed to be your resource library. Each area within Meetings and Travel has developed our webinar series based on questions we've received from you. With the wealth of information out there, we want to make it easy for you to get the information you need. As we develop out the curriculum, we will be posting them to the Meetings and Travel section on Society Source, so be on the lookout. Meetings 101 is the first in the series, and the main objective is to provide staff a preliminary guide to meeting information. So let's get started with Meetings 101. Our objective in this training session is to provide basic knowledge of what constitutes a meeting that requires the involvement of Meetings and Travel Management. We will cover what is strategic meeting management, meetings policy, what it is and what are the requirements, Meetings and Travel Management, known as MTM, who you work with, where to find the information on Society Source, how to request access to request a meeting, and how to stay in touch. We developed and implemented a strategic meeting management program several years ago for the Society, and it is a nationwide initiative. It is a disciplined approach to managing nationwide meetings and travel processes, suppliers, and data in order to achieve measurable business objectives aligned with the Society's goals. Here is a visual to explain the process, starting at the top with registering a meeting or requesting, and going clockwise around. This program reduces the financial and legal liability of the Society through negotiations and standard contracts. It provides a preferred supplier program for increased savings, capitalizing on professional planning skill sets to ensure consistency and quality across all Society meetings and events, doing so with an online tool to automate process and improve staff efficiency. In keeping the Society's nationwide strategic management program, we have developed a meetings policy which took effect July 1st, 2014. And if I may, I'm going to read the slide to provide a better understanding of the development of this policy. This policy was developed to provide a consistent and compliant approach to the way meetings are registered, approved, secured, and contracted, and to provide enterprise-wide visibility to meetings, consolidate supplier spend, and reduce legal financial risks for all staff, volunteers, and consultants. This policy covers both virtual and face-to-face meetings. Per the policy, here is how face-to-face meeting is defined with one or more of the following. We refer to it as the 10-10 rule, and again I'm going to read it as it is stated in the policy. The American Cancer Society nationwide meetings policy is applicable to all gatherings with one or more of the following characteristics. Any and all American Cancer Society gatherings of participants that require 10 or more hotel guest rooms on any night, regardless of the Society's financial or contractual obligations. and/or an American Cancer Society gathering that requires 10 or more travelers via society-paid air and/or rail. So this includes meetings held in ACS offices and events that you might not always think of as a meeting, such as a Strides kickoff breakfast and even a gala, that they might have 10 or more guest rooms, maybe for the planning committee before the event. This could fall into the 10-10 rule. So if you are not sure if your meeting or event qualifies and must be registered in the online meeting system, then we encourage you to reach out to your strategic meeting partner to help you make this determination. Once it's determined that a meeting or event qualifies under the definition, MTM, Meetings and Travel Management, has 3 categories of requirements. One is registration of the meeting in the online meeting request tool, and approval by department head or division lead during and after the annual budget process. 2 is strategic sourcing and contracting by our team for all meeting-related suppliers, and an electronic registration site to include travel links if necessary. And 3rd is planning by the MTM team with the meeting owner, housing and registration management by our team, and finally payment will be processed by our team and expenses captured in the online meeting tool. Now the payment by our department might be something new to you because you might have handled this in the past yourself. We will now obtain final invoices, review, and then ask you to review if we were not on site at your meeting. And then we will pay the invoices and associate it with the payment to your activity code. As part of the nationwide effort to reduce meeting and travel costs, ACS embarked on a comprehensive partnership for audio and web conferencing. Through ACS nationwide vendor hosting meetings through the virtual technology should be the first level of consideration to collaborate with staff and volunteers. If virtual technology will not help achieve your meeting goal, then holding a meeting in one of the ACS offices around the country should be the next consideration. We have great resources in many of our offices nationwide for varying sizes meetings. A list of offices with meeting space, capacity, and contact information is available on our iMeet community. More to come on this information in the presentation. And lastly, if office space cannot accommodate your meeting, holding the meeting in a hotel in a location that minimizes the number of travelers and overall meeting costs can be considered. I would say this is the most frequently asked question we get. How far in advance do I need to request my meeting? So for small meetings, 3 months prior to the start date, usually for a size of 25 or less, medium-sized meetings 4 to 6 months prior to the start date, and for large meetings, a minimum of 6 months prior to the start date. When at all possible, these lead times will ensure availability of all resources to conduct your meeting. Additionally, when a meeting is considered, it is critical best practices to check for availability in an office or at a hotel before confirming meeting dates with attendees, even a save the date, especially in busy markets that may be booked well in advance of your meeting. The lead times are extremely important in order first and foremost to save the society money, because the last-minute meetings often means we have to settle for hotel space at a premium rate. Second, it throws a wrench, so to speak, into the works. There is now an urgency to stop work on other meetings to source and contract, to get through legal review and signatures, and to rush for a registration site, which involves not only MTM but also BCD Travel for their part with air connections, and then a limited time for registration for your attendees. It is not just about your one last-minute meeting request. It is now about all the other meetings that were already in the system with their needs for all these items that will now possibly be pushed back and delayed in their required services by our team. So the snowball effect is on all meetings. So let's take a look at the people who will help you achieve the objectives of your meeting. strategic meeting partner. That is myself and Sharon Collins. And as the title denotes, we work directly with Corporate Center, ACS CAN, and divisions to develop strategic business plans for travel, meetings, and conferences to deliver key returns to the stakeholders and constituents. And we are your initial contact for all things meetings and travel. Our list of assignment is out on the iMeet community, and I will show you in just a moment. Also on our team is our conference planning group. They are responsible for virtual and face-to-face meeting management services. For face-to-face, they serve as the point of contact with the meeting owner and all the vendors, including hotels. Our conference planning team expertise is used for all the logistic areas for conferences in all respects of event development and management. And here are your sourcing and planning gurus, Susan, Karen, and Ellen, and they bring a wealth of knowledge to the table. Let's look at SocietySource and our meetings and travel management community, where you can locate information on iMeet to assist in planning your meeting. We are located under Employee Services with 3 sections: iTravel, iMeet, and iVirtual. Once in iMeet, you will see our important links that provide quick links to the meeting policy, the nationwide ACS meeting rooms list, where you can look up to see what rooms might be available in other locations, and contact information, a connection to the Book a Meeting for the online tool for requesting your meeting that qualifies by the 1010 rule, and the list of our strategic meeting partner assignments, and also the ACS meetings calendar. This calendar is very useful to review when planning your meeting date to ensure there are no conflicts in meeting dates and possible crossover of attendees to multiple meetings. The color coding designates divisions and corporate center meetings, and as you roll over the meeting, the box opens up with more details about the meeting. Let's review how to locate iMeet online meeting request tool. Again, it's located on SocietySource under Employee Services, Meetings and Travel Management, and then in iMeet under the important links. You will log into the tool using your assigned username and password as indicated towards the right. If you do not currently have a username and password, please use the link on the iMeet page in the Request a Meeting section labeled iMeet Logon Request, shown here. And this is the form you will complete. Once we receive your access request, you will receive an email with your user and password along with a how-to document. Other informational sections to review are meeting policy and procedures, where more details around the process with meetings and travel are covered, and also the meeting toolbox, where you can find name badge and tent card templates and the ACS dietary guidelines. Please check out this page at your earliest convenience. Again, your initial contact with meetings and travel should be your strategic meeting partner, and the list of assignments for each is on the iMeet page under important links. And how to stay in touch with meetings and travel management? First, by the iMeet section under the Meetings and Travel Management community on SocietySource, and join the iMeet Yammer group to keep up with the latest meeting news, or to reach out with your meeting-related questions to imeet@cancer.org. And the next course in this series will be Meetings 102, and in that course we will cover what you will need to what is required for you to request a meeting, the information you need to have beforehand, and to be ready to request your meeting in the online tool.
Great. Thank you, Paula. So it looks like we have a few questions already, but please continue to submit your questions in the Q&A box located at the lower right side of the screen and submit to all panelists. Okay, so Paula, if we are having the meeting in our office, do we still need to request that meeting in iMeet?
Good question, yes. Again, what you have to consider is the 10-10 rule. If you will have 10 or more guest rooms that you need to bring staff into for this meeting, then you would need to request the meeting in the system, and you will be able to indicate and let us know that it's going to be held at an office, but that you need 10, 12, 15 sleeping rooms for a night or two.
Great, thank you. Okay, a second question is, how do I know if my meeting is on the approved list you mentioned?
The approved list is what is done during the budgeting process. It's called an expected meetings list. And those are listed out for the year planning that you would probably have these meetings. If you do not know if your meeting is on that list with your management, then you can certainly reach out to Sharon or I, whoever services your area, and we'll be glad to let you know.
Okay, just scrolling through the questions. Let's see. Do I have to use a registration site for my meeting?
Well, again, it will depend on the size of your meeting. If there are, that also falls under the 10-10 rule. So if you have 10 or more air or rail travelers, then yes, we do create the registration site for you because it captures together all the data that's needed to, for your final reporting of what the spend was on air or rail, along with what other spend you had for hotels.
Great. That looks, at this point, if you want to give it a second or two to see if anyone has any additional questions that they can put in the Q&A box. And if we don't see any, looks like, Paula, you presented very comprehensive information, so I want to thank you for that. It has been great information. And as we end today, we would like to ask you to please complete the survey questions that will pop up when you close out of the meeting. And as mentioned earlier, today's session has been recorded and will be posted to the iMeet community in the Meetings and Travel Management section on SocietySource, along with a separate posting of just the slide deck for your reference. If we didn't get to your question today, which I believe we did answer all of them, we will reach out to you directly to review with you. So I want to thank everyone for taking time today to join the training, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.